Good morning to everybody who is listening. I would like to first of all thank Dr. Deepa Chakrabarti for taking the risk of inviting me to give this talk and Dr. Sabyasachi Mishra for organizing the talk. Let me first tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to offer you any big theory because I'm supposed to do it as a professor so that at the end you don't know what I said and I also don't know what I said. There are lots of statistics available in the world today. They're not dependable. So I'm not going to give you any numbers and percentages. You'll be surprised to see that I'm not using any PowerPoint. I'm a teacher of the older generation. As one of the academics who has his Google in his head and not necessarily only on the laptop, and who has the required self-confidence as a teacher, I have enough power in me to make my point, so I don't need a PowerPoint. But I'll also tell you what I'm going to do. Our topic is leadership styles from a cross-cultural point of view. In this talk, I'm going to address the students who are planning their future because they are all going to be the leaders of tomorrow. Though I never had the privilege of being recognized as a chai wala, but being a professor of German as a beer wala, I want to pass on whatever little knowledge and wisdom I have to the younger generation. Therefore, my apologies to my fellow teachers, the so-called intellectuals, who may be also listening to me and who may not find this talk to be very scholarly, but as I said, I am talking to the students. I'm going to keep my language simple and intelligible to you all. My English is not bad, but I'm not going to use a high-flown English like this, as many of the professors do. Please listen to this, what I'm telling you, and try to understand what I'm telling you. Two individuals proceeded towards the apex of a natural geologic protuberance, the purpose of their expedition being the procurement of a sample of fluid, hydride of oxygen in a large vessel, the exact size of which was unspecified. One member of the team precipitously descended, sustaining severe damage to the upper cranial portion of his anatomical structure. Subsequently, the second member of the team performed a self-rotational translation oriented in the same direction taken by the first team member. I'm not going to speak this kind of English. All this, what I just now said, I'm going to tell you simply as Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. Let's start with the topic. Leadership styles from a cross-cultural point of view. Why do we need leaders at all? If we are all the time told that as human beings, we are equal in front of God, as citizens, we have equal rights, we are all equal. Everywhere we hear this, we are all equal, we are all equal. Then why do we need leaders at all? There is a story about four people named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. All of them were working in an absolutely typical Indian company with a lot of Atmanirbhar. There was an important job to be done, and everybody was asked to do it. Everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. That is why we need leaders in an organization who can handle the other employees and get the job done. Today's businesses are complex entities. However, one fundamental principle of success remains constant: the need for appropriate communication. Communication manifests in various forms, both verbal and non-verbal. Kabir said, "Mala to karme fire, jib fire mukmahi. Manuva to das disa fire, ye to sumarin nahi." But when I look at the younger generation today, talking great things about communication, I can only say, Cell phone to karme fire, jeeb fire mukmahi, manuva to das disa fire, ye to communication nahi. One area of increasing concern for businesses in the globalized world today is how to nurture and maintain effective cross-cultural, also called intercultural communication between the employees. As workforces become increasingly multicultural and businesses continue to expand overseas, the homogeneous workforce has become a thing of the past in most international organizations and companies. More and more teams are made up of people with different nationalities and therefore different cultures, languages, ideas, behavior patterns, and ways of doing things. Some would argue that the international language of business is English and everyone speaks English, therefore, cultural differences are not important. But I must say this is not true, and these people are living in an illusion. When people of different cultural backgrounds come together in any setting, there will always be issues in terms of interaction. This we can see even in India, in most of the national institutions, where people from different states of India come, they all have different kind of mentalities, ways of doing things, and therefore sometimes communication becomes a problem. This is because everyone brings with him or her his or her own cultural baggage in terms of how they do things and expect things to be done. Cross-cultural issues will need not always be a hindrance. In fact, we talk of cultural shocks, but many a time, cross-cultural issues can be a force for positive creativity, but as and when a clash of cultures occurs, it has a negative impact, especially within a team, and that is where we need effective leadership to handle the conflict. There are obviously cultural differences in leadership styles. Different types of leadership styles exist in work environments. Advantages and disadvantages exist within each leadership style. The culture and goals of an organization determine which leadership style fits the firm best. Some companies offer several leadership styles within the organization, depending upon the necessity of handling different kinds of tasks and to complete the department needs. Effective leaders recognize that choosing the right leadership style for the current situation tends to improve the likelihood of using a primary style in the management approach. Cultural traditions and values play a role in a leader's style. One has to recognize the fact that leadership traits result partly from cultural norms and partly from the needs of the leadership job. Cultures differ regarding the use of power. Leadership means power. People who act to maximize their personal gain behave as individualists. Collectivists, on the other hand, are expected to act to help the community. By acknowledging these differences, leaders improve their ability to function while conducting global business. Let me draw your attention to 11 different styles of leadership. Number one, this style is called laissez-faire. A laissez-faire leader lacks direct supervision of employees and fails to provide regular feedback to those under his supervision. He takes it a little easy. Highly experienced and trained employees requiring little supervision fall under the laissez-faire leadership style. However, not all employees possess those characteristics. This leadership style hinders the production of employees needing supervision. The laissez-faire style produces no leadership or supervision efforts from managers, which can lead to poor production, lack of control, and increasing costs. This is what we would call in India, chalega, chalta hai attitude. The second one is autocratic. Autocratic leaders make all the decisions for the departments and tend to show little concern for individuals. Staff members don't have the opportunity to provide input. Typically, this results in high rates of low morale, absenteeism, and employee turnover. In a crisis situation, such as a natural disaster, autocratic behavior tends to get the best results. However, Effective leaders realize that motivating and inspiring employees on a daily basis leads to greater employee satisfaction and productivity. In collectivist cultures, in group cultures, employees expect leaders to focus on tasks but also show concern toward the people. For example, Latin Americans make more eye contact to face each other more. Leaders from these countries tend to be less autocratic and more sensitive to employee needs. The autocratic leadership style allows managers to make decisions alone without the input of others. Managers possess total authority and impose their will on employees. No one challenges the decision of autocratic leaders. Countries such as Cuba and North Korea operate under the autocratic leadership style. This leadership style benefits employees who require close supervision. Creative employees who thrive in group functions, they detest this leadership style. As you know, unfortunately, we have come to a situation where in most of the educational institutions in India, it is the autocratic style which exists. The third one is autonomous. Autonomous leaders endorse the independent and individualistic leadership. This style is popular with entrepreneurs in the United States of America, which favors recognizing the individual. Eastern European leaders prefer this style as well nowadays, while those from Latin America, they do not use it on a regular basis. The fourth one is self-protective leadership. Self-protective leaders ensure the safety and security of team members. This type of leader concerns himself with face-saving activities and follows established procedures. Leaders in Asian cultures prefer this style more than their counterparts from the United States and Europe. Leaders from Nordic European countries consider this type of leadership to inhibit success, and they are not in favor of it. The fifth style is the bureaucratic style. Bureaucratic leaders set up rules and want them to be followed precisely. For example, according to the Cambridge Handbook of Culture, Organizations and Work, employees in Western countries, such as the United States and Germany, they have an independent concept of self. Leaders distance themselves from their employees. They tend not to nurture employees and accept mistakes. In these individualistic cultures, leaders prefer to maintain professional relationships. The sixth one is charismatic style. Leaders who inspire their employees establish a vision and communicate it with passion and enthusiasm. A charismatic leader establishes an organization with dedicated followers who believe in his mission. He makes them believe in his mission. In individualist cultures, these types of leaders focus on accomplishing tasks and tend to accept paternalism, a hierarchy based on a fatherly leader. For example, most of the Japanese accept paternalism as compared to most of the Europeans and Americans. Effective global leaders establish a vision for the future and energize others to pursue it successfully. Charismatic leaders very often give inspirational speeches. They tend to establish the vision and then allow their subordinates to figure out how to achieve this vision. Leaders from the Middle East typically prefer this style less than the American leaders. The seventh one is called participative leadership. It's also called democratic leadership. It's often called the democratic leadership style. Participative leadership values the input of team members and peers, but the responsibility of making the final decision rests with the participative leader. Participative leadership boosts employees' morale because employees make contributions to the decision-making process. It causes them to feel as if their opinion matters and counts, and they feel comfortable. When a company needs to make changes within the organization, the participative leadership style helps employees accept changes easily because the employees do play a role in the process. This style meets challenges when companies need to make a decision in a short period. Democratic leaders involve their subordinates in decision-making processes. By encouraging collaboration, they typically increase an employee's job satisfaction and commitment to his job. Team members feel like they have control over the work. Democratic leaders motivate their personnel to solve problems themselves. Collectivists, such as the Japanese, tend to sacrifice individual needs for the whole group. That is why in Japan, you will find a great loyalty to the company for which somebody is working. Once he joins the company, in all probability, lifelong he will remain with the company. Leaders in these cultures rely on employees' sense of duty to produce quality products and services. Participative leaders encourage collaboration. Leaders from the United States tend to use this style more than other global leaders. They invite their employees to contribute their opinions to discussions and encourage employees to provide feedback on process improvement. Effective participative leaders gather input from subordinates because they recognize that people performing the work usually have the most insight on how to fix problems. The eighth style is called team-oriented leadership. Effective global leaders build successful teams by establishing roles and responsibilities so that everyone knows when and how to complete their job tasks. Leaders from the United States use this style when the employees have sufficient experience. Latin American leaders also prefer this style as opposed to other leadership styles used elsewhere in the world. The ninth style is the transactional style. Managers using the transactional leadership style, they receive certain tasks to perform and provide rewards or punishments to team members based on performance results. Managers and team members set predetermined goals together, and employees agree to follow the direction and leadership of the manager to accomplish these goals. This is what is being practiced, or at least they try to practice this in many of the so-called multinational companies. The manager possesses the power to review results and train or correct the employees when team members fail to meet goals. Employees receive rewards such as bonuses, increments, etc. when they accomplish goals. The 10th style is called transformational style of leadership. The transformational leadership style depends on high levels of communication from management to meet goals. Leaders motivate employees and enhance productivity and efficiency through communication and high visibility. This style of leadership requires the involvement of management to meet goals. Leaders focus on the big picture within an organization and delegate smaller tasks to the team to accomplish goals. Style of leadership is called humane-oriented. Humane-oriented leaders focus on providing considerate and supportive guidance to their staff. Asian leaders tend to emphasize this style more than their counterparts in the United States because in Asia, we don't differentiate much between private life and professional life. So even our professional life is as if the company is a big family and we're all members of the family. Leaders from Nordic European countries, they tend to use this leadership less frequently than in the other countries. If you look for it, you will see that we find all these 11 leadership styles which are mentioned in today's globalized world, depending on in which country, what kind of leadership is being preferred. One fundamental principle of leadership in the international arena today is that we all realize leadership is not one size which fits for all. Let me give you some selective examples now, referring to different countries. American managers are assertive, aggressive, goal and action oriented, confident, vigorous, optimistic, and ready for change. They are capable of teamwork and corporate spirit, but they value individual freedom and their first interest is furthering their own career. British managers are diplomatic, casual, helpful, willing to compromise, and seeking to be fair, though they can be ruthless when necessary. Unfortunately, their adherence to tradition can result in a failure to comprehend differing values in others. The management in Sweden is decentralized and democratic. The rationale is that better informed employees are more motivated and perform better. The drawback is that decisions can be delayed. In Finland, leaders exercise control from a position just outside and above the ring of middle managers who are allowed to make day-to-day decisions. Finnish top executives have the reputation of being decisive at crunch time and do not hesitate to stand shoulder to shoulder with staff and help out in crisis. In Norway, the boss is very much in the center of things, and staff enjoy access to him or her most of the time. Middle managers' opinions are heard and acted upon in egalitarian fashion, but the top executives rarely abandon responsibility and accountability. If you think of Netherlands, that's Holland, the leadership is based on merit, competence, and achievement. Managers are vigorous and decisive, but consensus is mandatory as there are many key players in the decision-making process. If you look at Germany, German managers strive to create a perfect system. There's a clear chain of command in each department, and information and instructions are passed down from the top. As an Indian, you're always surprised when you go to Germany that the man sitting on the counter has the authority to take decisions. It's not like in India that he has to pass on the file to the other authorities above him, and it will go to some 7 to 8 of them. At the end, the file will come back slowly. You know, many of the Indian universities also function like that. A department will initiate something, it will go to the head, it will go to the dean, it will go to the provost, it will go to the vice chancellor, and then slowly it will come back down. Whereas in Germany, when you're given a job, you're also given the power to take decisions connected to that job within a particular parameter. What is important is also, but this system also works on a kind of consensus. French managers tend to be autocratic and paternalistic, with an impressive grasp of the many issues facing the company. Opinions of experienced middle managers and technical staff may be generally dismissed. The notion and the impression that French managers tend to be very, very romantic, that you see only in the Hollywood movies. Spanish leaders, like the French, are autocratic and charismatic. Unlike the French, they work less from logic than from intuition, and they pride themselves on their personal influence on all their staff members. In Spain, leaders are often expected to be very precise about what needs to be done. Leaders who solicit opinions instead of issuing directions are seen as weak leaders. In Turkey, the managers are still influenced by the tenets of Kemal Atatürk. A democratic republic is partially supported by the army in a delicate balance with the so-called Islamic fundamentals. But they are functioning. If you look at Russia, efforts made by Russian managers to promote business through official channels may founder on the rock of bureaucracy and Russian apathy. Therefore, using key people and personal alliances, the system is often bypassed and a good result is achieved. That's why personal contact is very, very important in Russia to get something done. Despite external pressures, in Poland, the Polish retain many traditional romantic values. However, meritocracy increasingly dominates, advancement in place of aristocracy. If you look at Israel, you will see lacking an aristocracy, Israeli society attaches importance to achievement and dynamism when looking for leadership. Australian managers, like the managers in Sweden, they must sit in the ring with the mates. From this position, once it is accepted that they will not pull rank, they actually exert much more influence than their Swedish counterparts. As the semi-Americanized nature of Australian business requires quick thinking and rapid decision making. If you look at Africa, traditionally, many African societies were based on clans and lineages. This type of leadership still exists, but economic changes are taking place. Many African countries becoming part of the total worldwide system of economic production and exchange has weakened the clan and tribal influence. In Latin and Arab countries, authority is concentrated in the chief executive and family relations are very, very important with considerable amount of nepotism. East Asian countries tend to have a Confucian hierarchy where the group is sacred and leaders are seen as benevolent. Japanese top executives have great power in conformity with Confucian hierarchy, but actually have little involvement in everyday affairs of the company. In Japan, a superficial look might find that a consensus-driven style appears to dominate. However, it is much orchestrated from behind the scenes. Consensus is generally highly valued in China. In companies controlled by the state, a leadership group will decide policy. The developing expansion of capitalist style companies, leaders are emerging with reputations of competence, and also locally elected officials are becoming influential in the business sphere and may have only loose ties with Beijing. In spite of all the efforts being taken in India to be part of globalization, the unique feature continues to be nepotism, particularly in the traditionally family-owned Indian companies. Family members hold key positions and work in close unison. Policy is also dictated by the trade group. For example, in India, professional trade groups are very, very strong, like fruit merchants, jewelers, etc. These groups work in concert, often develop close personal relations, and come to each other's support in difficult times. Leadership style in many countries are changing. Despite cross-cultural differences, they are universal leadership attributes such as trustworthiness, honesty, integrity, intelligence, and optimism. Although different cultures, they have different ways of developing. Since I've been talking about different kinds of leadership in a globalized world, since I've been talking about cross-cultural communication in the companies and the necessity for choosing the right kind of leadership, let us spend some time on finding an answer to the question, what is cross-cultural leadership? And this will be the last part of my talk. The young people of today will have to be aware of different kinds of leadership styles. I have pointed out to 11 of them, and of course you can do a kind of permutation and combination and generate much more styles. But these 11 styles are the basic styles. So the young people who are studying today at universities, also in India, whatever subjects they may be studying, they should be taught something about leadership styles, the job. And that's very, very important. And they should not only know these leadership styles, they should be also doing a self-analysis all the time to see what kind of leaders they are themselves and what kind of leader they want to be. They have to prepare themselves for the profession. At the same time, it is good for them to observe the people around them and see what kind of leaders are running around them, what kind of leaders are handling them, even at the universities. As you always say, a student can learn a lot from a good teacher, but a student learns much more from a bad teacher because the student learns how not to do things. So let us look at this question, what is cross-cultural leadership? Cross-cultural leadership is more than just being tolerant of different appearances and traditions. Managers will need to develop new competencies to successfully integrate and lead employees from different cultures. So what are the important strategies for effective cross-cultural leadership? Going from whatever little experience I have, I would like to suggest to each young person to be conscious of the following strategies. If you follow these strategies, you will be a good cross-cultural leader. Number one, be aware of your own culture, beliefs, values, and behavior. So you should know your own culture. You should have enough information on your culture. But today, unfortunately, as you know, most of the young Indians, they can't even read and write their own language because everything is English. They even feel proud about it. And that's not good. Your mother tongue is your eyes. Every other language which you learn is your contact lens. Be proud of your culture, but not falsely proud. Learn about your culture. Be proud to speak your mother tongue. Develop awareness of your own cultural conditioning. You need not glorify your culture all the time. You should be critical about your culture. You should have a balanced view about your own culture, but what you need is a cultural foundation, and that only your culture can give. We all have it, but we are very often unconscious about how it affects us. Culture conditions our thinking and our behavior. Consider as an example, how do I feel when someone avoids eye contact? How do I feel when someone doesn't shake hands? Do I assume somebody is dishonest and disrespectful if they don't look at me? If somebody is dishonest and disrespectful if they do not shake hands with me? Leadership is founded on first understanding and managing ourselves, including our biases and stereotyping. So first impression is the most important. We have to show curiosity toward other cultures and expand your knowledge when interacting with local people by listening and observing. So when you go to another culture, observe a lot. If you don't understand something, ask questions. Ask them why they are doing it like that. Why are they not doing it the way you do it in your country? You don't interpret it from your point of view. That is where we get into a lot of problems. You have to show respect for other cultures and customs by adopting appropriate behavior and language, verbal as well as non-verbal. Showing respect to other culture means you accept them as they are and you have no business to change them. In the 18th, 19th century, when the Christian missionaries went to African countries, they wrote reports sent back home saying, oh, these African people here, they are running around barefoot and they are not dressed properly. Their dress is very, very meager, very poor, and they are running around. These people don't have culture. We'll have to teach them culture. Now, if you look at the so-called third world countries, where people from rich countries come for holiday, take Goa for example, look at all the Europeans who are running around there. They're also running around barefoot. They're also not dressed up properly, but nobody talks about it. Number 4, learn how culture affects beliefs, perceptions, and ultimately the behavior. The dimensions of culture is a start to understand how others might perceive and behave differently. Consider how a person might have different motivation if they come from a collectivist, group-focused culture and you come from an individualistic culture. So we'll have to see what kind of tolerance both the people need mutually. Number 5, communicate your expectations clearly and repeatedly if the other person is from another culture. We assume that our behavioral norms are universal and everyone just knows them. But would you know exactly what to do if put in another country or culture? So you need to explain and perhaps give examples or demonstrate. I'll give you a simple example. In India, when you receive a guest and you offer him a cup of coffee, you ask him 3 times. First time you'll say, no, 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 I just know I had coffee. No, no, thank you. Then you tell him, no, 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 you must have something. First time you are in my house. You know, that's Indian rhetoric. Second time you'll say, yeah, maybe a little coffee. And then third time, you would again ask him, so what would you like, coffee or tea? Now his answer third time will be, whatever you people are drinking, I'll drink. As an Indian, you go to Germany and they ask you, would you like to have a cup of coffee? And you do the Indian style, no, 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 just now I had coffee. You won't get coffee because they will never ask you second or third time. Number 4, do not overreact when you feel uncomfortable or also under attack. Always ask for clarification. Once I was in Germany, a teacher invited me to visit her school. I was standing at the bus stop to go to the school. She passed by in her car, but she didn't take me. She just rolled down the window and said, hey, Ganeshan, I'll see you in the school. I thought it was inhuman. So when I went to the school, later on, when they said, do you have any questions? I asked her, why did you do that? In India, in one car, we'll take 20 people. She smiled and said, I didn't take you in my car. I thought it's better you come by the bus because I don't have an insurance for the co-passengers. The bus, we are insured. You see, culturally, what she did was correct, but culturally, I misunderstood. Number 5, be patient. It can take time for diverse groups to learn to work together and recognize that your own cross-cultural leadership is like any other competency. It takes time and practice to achieve excellence. Number 6, learn quickly how to read people and assess situations. Number 7, be genuine, open, and inclusive in your thoughts and actions. Number 8, help other managers, employees by communicating clearly on roles, responsibilities, expected initiatives, and behaviors. Number 9, learn how to give feedback in a cultural sensitive way. Leverage cultural differences for mutual gain. So cultural differences need not always lead to cultural shocks, but when you have a cultural shock, try to sort it out and try to see what is the best thing you can do. That is what will help us. I want to give an example of cultural behavior and conclude my speech. 4 people went to a restaurant. Or let me give you 2 examples. 4 people went to a restaurant. An American, a German, a Japanese, and an Indian in a foreign country. They ordered a steak and salad. The steak was not good. Salad was good. Now, what do? How do they protest? The German will call the waiter and bluntly tell him, hey, look, this steak is not good. I think you should get me another one. This is not done properly. He will not say anything about the salad. The American will call the waiter. The American wants to criticize, but he wants to criticize in a nice way, with all his superficial smile all the time. So the American will say, oh, you know, buddy, this steak, well, it could have been a little better, you see. I don't think this is what I had ordered. It's not exactly the same, you see. But the salad is great. The salad is great. That is 50%. 50%. Blow hot, blow cold. Okay, what will the Japanese do? The Japanese will call the waiter, politely bow his head and tell the waiter, you know what? The salad is very, very good. Very good salad. Excellent salad. He will not say anything about the steak, which means the steak is not all right. And what will the Indian do? The Indian will silently eat it. He will not bring out his criticism that openly, but he will go out and tell 100 people, oh, you know what? In that restaurant, my God, they serve a horrible steak. This is what is cross-cultural behavior. One more small thing. A German colleague once asked me in Atlanta, can you tell me the difference the way Germans express a thought and Americans do it? I asked her, why do you ask me? I'm not an American, I'm not a German. She said, no, 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 no. You are a good mediator. As an Indian, you understand Germany, understand US. Tell me. I said, okay, listen to me. Of course, my conversation was in German, but I'll give it to you in English. I told her, see, let's take a German and an American. Both have the same problem. And they come to me and they're telling me about the problem. Now I'll tell you culturally how differently they will express their thoughts. And what is the problem they have? Both of them have the problem of constipation. The German will walk into my room with a stiff, serious face. Looking at his face, I know he has a problem. Then he will start telling me like this. Oh, Ganesha, you know what? I've got a terrible problem. You know, I don't know how I got it. Since 10 days, I'm really, I don't know, it's so difficult to handle. And I'm trying my best, I took tablets and I drank a lot, but I go and sit there, my God, nothing is coming. I just don't know what to do. Listening to him, first you have sympathy for him, then you have empathy for him. But at the end, you feel very happy because you think, my God, look at him. It's such a big problem. The fellow is suffering. Thank God I don't have this problem. An American will walk into your room. On his face, you will not see he has a problem because he will be smiling. Then he will come and tell you this. Hey, Ganesh and buddy, you know what? I have to share with you something exciting. You know what's happening? Since 10 days, my God, I don't know how it happened. Since 10 days, I'm handling this. Oh God, it is difficult. But it's very, very interesting. It's very exciting. I just don't know what to do. I've been taking tablets, I've been drinking a lot. Oh man, it's terrible, and I just go and sit there. I try and try. Oh shit, nothing comes out. Look at him. You get the feeling this fellow has got a problem, but he seems to be enjoying it. And at the end, you feel jealous. And you say, thank God I don't have this problem. That's what you said when you met the German. Now looking at the American, say, oh God, look, he has a problem. He seems to be enjoying it. Why is I also don't have it? So that is what the problem is. Thank you very much for listening to me patiently. I wish every one of you who is aspiring to become a leader all that what you wish for yourself. Thank you very much. And now I'll take up.
The interactive session you can allow. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate your views, and it has been very enlightening as well. I will ask the participants, dignitaries, fellow colleagues, if you have questions, please, this is the moment when you can give the questions to me. Now, a question that is coming is, you talked about European leadership, you talked about American leadership, and it seems that of all the European leadership, you like the German leadership the best. Could you please enumerate more on this?
Well, first of all, I don't think anywhere I said I prefer the German leadership. But most probably because you know that I'm a professor of German, obviously you expect me to be loyal to Germans and say German leadership is the best one. But I'll tell you why is the German leadership good. Because when you're dealing with a German, everything is straightforward. It sounds a little blunt to us, a little aggressive for the Indian sensitivity. But when you're with a German, you know exactly what's happening. It's a straight yes or no. Say, I'll give you a day-to-day example. A German will come, suppose he needs money. He will come and straight away ask you, hey, Ganeshan, can you give me 1,000 euro or 2,000 euro? Question is straight. And if you ask a German, hey, can you give me 2,000 euro? This is the way you have to ask him also. You can't ask him indirectly. And when a German asks this question to another German, you will notice the answer is very straight. The other fellow will say, oh, of course, why not? We are friends, no? After all, why are we friends? I'll give you the money. Or you will clearly say, oh, what? You mean to say, I have a lot of money? No, 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 sorry, I don't have. You ask somebody else. I can't give you money. It's done. You know, the Indian culture is not like that. Your friend will come and tell you, he won't ask you directly for money. He will say, hey, you know what? I took a motorbike. I had to pay 20,000 rupees advance. And 10,000 I managed. Another 10,000, I don't know what to do. I'm thinking about it last 3 days. You know, I'll have to do something about it. He's actually asking you for money, but he has not told you directly.
But
And you know
also,
that he's asking for money.
yes, sir. But also the COVID-19 crisis, the Germans handled very well.
Yes, they do.
If you
They
compare,
plan the crisis. They have a solution for all the kinds of crises because they plan it properly.
yes,
The other cultures, they start acting only the crisis is really there. That's also one of the reasons.
that is how they stand out in the European scenario today, that they could handle any crisis and they have answers to it,
That is,
starting
that is,
from the top boss to all the people.
that's very correct. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, another question that is coming up is you talked about permuting, all kinds of, you talked about 11 types of leadership. And talking about the youngsters, you advise them that they can do a combination, whatever is preferable. What to your mind is should the combination be for our Indian entrepreneur leader?
It's very simple. It's very simple. You see, in the business, you are serving the client, not yourself. So, if you're a young Indian and you want to be a manager, you'll have to look at the company which you are joining and see what are the leadership styles they are practicing, and that will be your combination. It's like going to a bar, you sit down, you want a cocktail, you tell the barkeeper to give you a cocktail, but he can give you only what he has got. So you have to be very pragmatic. You cannot fix a leadership style on yourself and then go and tell the company, hey, look, this is the kind of leadership I can offer. Do you have a job? You may not get a job. First, find out what is it they need, and you will have to mold yourself accordingly.
Talking about the African countries, talking about Latin America, you also told that even now they're having clans, lineages, and although economic changes are going on there also. So, what advice would you have for them?
For whom? For the Latin American?
Latin Americans and Africans. You talked about that still they have this lineages, clan, all these are playing a role in it.
Well, I'll tell you
At the
one thing
same time, the economy is changing.
Okay,
What should they do?
Okay, I'll tell you one thing very clearly. I have no advice for them. It's none of my business. Their country,
What do you
their
think?
culture, they have to handle.
What is your takeaway from it? I mean, what do you think the future of that leadership should
No,
be?
I'll tell you what it is. If I have to deal as a corporate manager with African countries, then I will also tell them I come from India, where we have groups and communities, like they have clans, and the loyalty to the clan is important. I'll try to build a bridge talking about the common aspects, and that will get me business. If I go to Latin America, I will be as emotional as they are and tell them that we are also very emotional people. We laugh a lot, we cry a lot, we shout at each other. See, when you establish common aspects between two cultures, the business moves. At the same time, you should be able to handle the differences also. That is what I would say. But I am not for it that US and Europe interfere in everybody's business and tell other people what they should be doing. I don't think that's the right thing, because colonialism is over, but unfortunately it continues to exist in the minds of most of the Indians also. That is why you want for your local samosa a ISO 9000 stamp, but they are not asking you for an Indian stamp for their burgers.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful session.